Right, we are looking at the building of a wagon that I have got from my good friend Paul at BP Laser. And as you can see, I'm applying my usual skill. Nice and fairly simple. Yeah, those little nuggets of joy were indeed nuggets of joy trying to pop them out. They do come out reasonably well, as you can see. I still had some fingernails at this stage, and consequently am jiggling away. And eventually I do find there is actually a better way to remove them. Yes, and I think I might be about to discover that shortly as I start to go. Well, the thing is that I had given up on my knife for the smaller parts, and there we go, using the other round piece on top of the other to push it through. So there you go, that's a tip for punching out round things. Use another one to punch it through the other. So these are all coming off. This is a fairly simple build, this one. I don't think the video goes for as long as one of the others. Now there is another Wagon video. Now I'm not sure if I have done it or not, but the other Wagon video is essentially the same as this, except that it has a doesn't have the solid sideboard. It's just the railings. So think of it like an old-fashioned hay wagon or something like that. So those pieces that I'm popping off there, they are the axles for the bottom of the wagon. So they come out all nicely. As I said, I think it's only a two-piece sprue or a two-piece. So everything's coming off nicely. Now I've just got to clean up all the rest of these. Now I have finally obtained for myself a decent box cutter, if you'd like to call it that, or Stanley knife, or however it's called. So I have actually got something that's quite a bit better than this. Because I must admit, this cutting with this knife was a little bit anxiety provoking. So, but anyway, so that's the. And of course, it was always helpful the fact that the knife was as blunt as a dinner knife. So just popping out those sections for the side panels to sit on. So, as I said, everything that is laser cut by BP Laser is quite good. There's very little. Actually, I don't think I've run into anything that has not cut all the way through properly. So sometimes you do get some MDF laser places where the burn doesn't go all the way through, and it can be aggravating when that happens. But none of that with any of the stuff here. So I'm still tinkering away, and that. So yeah, so Queensland's had quite a bit of rain of late, and of course I think I was doing this. I think I did this video just before we had, or might have been at the start of the heavy wet weather that we received. And of course I shall tell you now that MDF is well, perhaps not the best material to be working in high humidity environments, because it just seems to soak up the moisture, and just swells the pieces, particularly when you're trying to slot them into the appropriate holes on your buildings, which can be good because it does provide then an additional point of contact, so there's no looseness with the model. But yeah, so here we go. I'm having a bit of a think here for some reason, going, okay, so I've since found a decent flipping file to file the edges rather than just work with a knife. Particularly when I started to move towards doing buildings, that flush join is fairly critical. It may not look critical here because most of the I guess the pinning or the joint parts on the main board are few, and they're, I guess, strategically placed in a position that doesn't interfere with the actual model making. So you'll find that, like for instance, with this and the wagon, that the joins are on the edge where the wheels will join. So that makes it nice and simple. Yeah. So I'm recording this after we've had our flooding events. I sadly copped a fair bit of water downstairs, which I can't really do a hell of a lot about, but we've not lost anything, which is good. Unfortunately, I have friends who have, and for them, all I can extend is my deepest sympathy and hope that they can move forward and find whatever assistance they can to recover. It's like with, I think, with some of the news as they were talking about, it was taking forever to get compensation for the last major flooding event Brisbane had, which was in 2011. But yeah, so here we go. I've got the baseboard down. I've cleaned up all the pieces that I'm fiddling with. And as usual, I'm thinking, how does this all go together? Yep, that looks right. Those are the base pieces. And of course, I'm thinking now, is there a right or wrong to this? No, that's good. That goes there. And as I said, it all fits in nicely. And when you look at it, yep. So I think what I do here now is I just glue the base, because I'll just look at that and go, well, I don't really need to glue the joined pieces because there's enough surface space on those I don't know what I'd call them, but on these pieces that I'm gluing here at the moment, there's enough contact on that baseboard that gluing the joins aren't really necessary. If you want to do it, there's nothing to stop you from doing it. And there we go. I have got that done. I then just use an old bit of leftover MDF to just scrape the excess glue so that there's no problems with, puddles of glue popping up later on. So fairly happy with that. So wheels are next. So I think I learnt, here we go. So yes, trust me people, I've now got a file, so that will make that a lot quicker than having to trim with a knife, but it will take a few minutes. But yeah, so it is, I must admit, heartbreaking for a lot of people that in the entirety since 2011 that nothing really has been done to mitigate flooding here in southeast Queensland. Alright, so I'm back to putting this hub on the wheels. So we just nip this off. I think in most cases they're fairly clean, but they're just furry, to be quite honest, when you pluck them off the main piece of MDF board. So it's not that much of an issue. And as you can see, I just whack that on. I find this easier because I can center the hub on the wheel so that it looks centered. And of course sometimes I have success with this, sometimes I don't, because once I've done that, as you'll probably soon see when I attempt to put the wheel on, but I'll continue working away at this. So I've got some more videos coming up. I've got a set of gallows. I've got a carriage house. I've got a mausoleum and the Wentworth building. So these are other ones that I've got from BP Laser, which I will do in due course. So yeah, having this quite a bit of fun putting these together. They're adding to what I enjoy doing. I was actually looking at my... Oh yes, that's popped off. Good on you, John. I've been actually looking at my Wild West buildings now that I've got some wagons and a carriage and other things, because I actually did a fairly large Wild West town, but I wasn't really happy with the doors and windows. But I'm going to have a word with Paul about doing some standard doors and windows for me, because I'll just replace the ones that I've made with what he produces, because I reckon that will look rather spiffy. So here we go. I'm putting on those, and I'm there going, yep, I know, that's good. And now I'm going to spend the next umpteen things. And of course Paul told me what I was supposed to do with this. Yes, I'm supposed to glue this to the outside of the main board. So the side that's got the woodwork etched on it is the side that railing will attach to. And of course I didn't know it, and as I said, everything here is a work in progress. It's learning as I go along. So again, just get rid of that excess glue, spin this around. Now the only thing of course is trying to get, I guess, that angle right, because there is a little bit of give in the join, which means that you're not going to get that perfect straight flush. So I think you'll find that I will attempt now to use the matting beneath to line up. There we go, trying to get that angle right. So it's, and of course the side of the wagons come out just a little bit as you start moving it, and because I'm videoing this all at one time, it's not like, oh well, I'll do this and come back after it's dried and continue producing. I'm fairly typical of most gamers, or most hobbyists in some regards, who do things like this. We sit down, we do everything in one big go, and whether or not we succeed or not is purely, I think, up to fate. But we've now moved on to, must have had a stop. I noticed there was a jump then in the video, so I've found, use a bit of leftover. Yep, stick that in, and of course if you're not careful you'll pop because with the volume of glue that's in there, it's essentially a vacuum that you're pushing the glue into. So unless don't go rampant with applying glue in the hole like I guess I just did, because you'll find you'll push the hub off and you'll end up then with quite a bit of glue pushed out the other side. But I've doing the best. It's looking good. I'm happy with the results. So as I said, Paul does really, really good work with his MDF buildings and that, and I do certainly recommend you go have a look at his webpage and see what other products that he has available. He has a pretty good range of Star Wars type buildings for anybody that's interested in that. When I used to help him run the Blind Pig, a lot of our terrain for 40k and science fiction, a lot of those were built from the MDF that he would produce for us, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway, here we go. I'm going, that's looking good. Wheels are on. Of course, the other thing is trying to get the wheels to line up straight so that it doesn't look like one wheel's going one way, one wheel's going the other. So that was a bit of fun trying to get that. So I've put that up there to dry, and of course here we go back to what do I do with these? Where do they go? I was thinking, do I create a tailgate at the back and run it that way? That could be a good idea. No, that's not right, John. We don't do that. That's a silly idea. And then what are we doing then? We're thinking, let's make it a higher. No, we don't do that either. And of course I can imagine, because Paul watches my videos, I can imagine Paul shouting abuse at me in the background going, I told you what you were supposed to do, and there's me going, I have no idea what I'm doing. But here we go. Here's the end results. There you have it, everybody. There is the wagon with the side bracing. Thanks everybody for watching. Until next time, signing off, the Honourable John.